Well, good morning and welcome to Action Change CSR Connect. My name is Phil Day and I'm trustee here at Action Change, and I'm joined by Tyrone Bennett, who is CEO. So the session is a mixture of pre-recorded and live Q&A. So the Q&A portal will be open. Please do use it throughout the session, and there will be a dedicated Q&A session towards the end of the event. I'll pop back in and introduce each segment as we progress through the day, and we'll have a break in the middle with a slightly shorter second half. So we're going to start with a brief introduction to Action Change from Tyrone.
So Action Change. Action Change, our mission as a charity is to support communities in creating a brighter, better and more sustainable future for all of their citizens. That is the key of what we do. To give you a bit about background on our history, as a charity, we officially started in 2005, and we were set up from a volunteer organisation, volunteerism, called GVI, which stands for Global Vision International. GVI was a UK volunteerism company where people used to pay to go and travel overseas. And in 2005, there was a disaster in Guatemala, which was one of the places that the alumni were volunteering in, and they wanted to donate to help those people in need in Guatemala. So our first programme started. From then, we've grown to over 90 programmes around the world, investing in around just over £2 million. In 2018, we sat down to review our charity, and we decided there was a lot of potential and a lot of support needed in the communities. Therefore, we moved away from volunteerism, and that led to a split from GVI. And we took our 15-year anniversary in 2020 to rebrand Action Change, as we felt that fit more into our future of where we're going as a charity. Since then, we've been transitioning the charity from a fundraising charity to more into building programs in partnership with Action Change and the local community, and building ways that we can tackle some of the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, so the global issues people face, and also help to make those projects long-term sustainable so they can continue long on with the community members at the heart of it. This year, in September, we turned 20 years old, so we're celebrating 20 years of Action Change, which is quite exciting. And as a charity, our purpose is to build this international community of people, getting the word out there, people that are united with a common goal to make an impact on the global issues that we face around the world. Raising awareness of the need to protect our environment and meeting the challenges we see every day. Our focus as a charity is we want to be inclusive. We are non-religious and non-political, making sure everyone can access Action Change. And we here, as like a kickstart, we are on the journey. So we're on the ground working with the programmes and the community members to help them tackle the issue while building a long-term sustainable goal and a plan for that programme. So our services, the SDG awareness, which is the Sustainable Development Goals, I'm going to show them to you now. These are a set of goals outlined by the United Nations, of issues around the world that we need to focus on tackling. We provide mentorships for our programs, so helping them build financial plans, marketing plans, and project development. Operational support, we're on the ground with the team. So if any unexpected disasters hit, our team is very well equipped to help them overcome them and move on quickly. We build a growth plan on every programme. So every programme we run, we want to make sure it's sustainable. An example of this will be maybe one of our schools in Kenya. We make sure the food programme there, they have their own veggie garden and chicken farms to make it sustainable to cut the cost of the feeding the children. We then also have mopeds and homes that have been donated to the school, and the income from those businesses fund the salaries of the teachers. So we look at that long-term sustainability plan for each project we work in. We are connecting all our programs for the CSR network. Our long-term goal is to have one corporate for every program. to help them through mentorship and virtual mentoring and to help the programs develop. And obviously impact reports are very important for us to monitor that we are moving forward and we are making an impact with the work we do. So as I mentioned, the United Nations had a group of 17 global goals that we need to tackle. And these have been grouped into 6 areas, as you can see here on the screen now, from poverty, it covers water, sanitation, infrastructure, climate change, conservation work, so life below water, and life on land as well. So when we say we as a charity work on the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, it does mean we have a very varied different types of projects from community development to conservation. Here's a little bit of our impact so far as a charity. We have sterilised 10,000 street dogs in Nepal, Mexico and South Africa. These are dogs that are homeless on the streets. We've taken them off the streets to sterilise them to try and help manage the numbers of street dogs on the streets. Along the coast of Africa, we have rescued over 534 turtles. We're actually now in turtle season. And the first few have just been rescued in the last couple of weeks. They need to be rescued because these are hatchlings that come up on the beach because they've ingested plastic in the ocean. So they go to our rehab where we try and wait for the plastic to come out. They then have to go through some tests before they're re-released back into the wild. Today, we've provided over 100,000 students with education around the world. And as well as that, over 5.7 million dinners have been provided. It's very important that the children we are teaching are having a nutritious meal because that helps them learn and keep active throughout their school. We funded over 1,700 scholarships around the world, and these are for community members that have the passion and drive, but don't have the skills they need to make the difference. So this has been life-changing. The big one in Laos is you can't get employment unless you can speak English. So we've had lots of scholarships to help fund people learn English. Through the years, we have built and refurbished over 21 schools. And our network Action Change, we have over 200,000 people connected to our charity. And we've responded to over 12 disasters. So we've done quite a bit so far, and there's still a lot more to do. Thank you for your time. I know I'll hand you over to the next section. But yes, if you have any questions, we'll take them at the end.
So with that introduction to Action Change, hopefully that gives you a bit more of a flavour of all the projects and everything that we're involved with. We're now going to have our first guest presenter, and for that we're going to take a little bit of a step back and look at sustainability in business from a slightly different angle than the projects.
Hello and welcome to my presentation, which is entitled Sustainability in 2025, Global Sustainability Trends Shaping the Future. So today I'm going to do a quick introduction of myself, and then we're going to take a look at sustainability reports and trends, why sustainability matters, the key challenges around sustainability, and the key takeaways for you today. So, just to quickly introduce myself, my name is Steve Lister. I'm the founder of stevelister.com, which is a sustainability consultancy for global brands, retailers, and supply chain partners. I've been in the sign, display, and print and retail industry for about 20 years. I'm also proud to say that I am the global head of sustainability for Popeye UK and Ireland, as well as being a Global Shop Design Award judge for the last 4 years. At stevelister.com, we have online sustainability learning platforms. We have our own at stevelister.com, but we also have one for Popeye UK and Ireland, one for Make It Happen Sustainability Bootcamp, and also one for HP, where we're helping supply chain partners within the print industry and print sectors. And finally, I'm very proud to say that I have worked with many blue chip companies, brands and retailers around the world, helping them with their sustainability challenges that they have been facing over the last 15 to 20 years. So let's just take a look at sustainability reports and trends. Now, we're very lucky that we have the ability to be able to look and source, and we are given sustainability trends. So we look at sustainability with consumers and end users, also look within retail, and we also look within packaging and retail marketing as well. So we have a really good global perspective when it comes to some of the key challenges and opportunities around sustainability. So first of all, let's take a look at sustainability in 2025 and look at why sustainability matters. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to work across the top of each of these and to explain to why some of sustainability matters, and then I'm going to work across the bottom. So first of all, let's look at why sustainability has evolved. Sustainability really, when it first started to have its focus, was really around what was called CSR, which is a corporate social responsibility. And that was really a self-regulated and defined area where you as a company would just make your claims about your business, and you would really just report about the actions that you're doing in some of your projects. Now, in the last few years, we've had it broadened out to what was called ESG, if you've heard of that, and that's basically environmental, social, and governance. That is a really wide set of reporting around sustainability, which is very different from the past. So we're having to now report on sustainability across the whole environmental side, the whole social element, and then the governance and legislation side. So sustainability has changed, it's become a lot more complicated. Then the next area is new sustainability stakeholders. We are now seeing that sustainability responsibility is across all areas of a client's teams. So when before you might have maybe just touched on maybe procurement or maybe in operations, we're now seeing that clients from the CEO all the way through the business, from senior managers, you might now have sustainability directors, but you'll also now have different teams like sales and marketing and HR and logistics, operations and procurement now all being challenged, targeted, and with different KPIs around sustainability. So now every stakeholder is now responsible for sustainability. So then we can take a look at new sustainability legislation. There is new legislation wherever you are in the world now on things like packaging, on waste, on accreditations. So we're now seeing that sustainability is being driven by legislation that is happening within each country. So you definitely need to look at the different legislations that apply to your country and the business sector that you are in. And then finally on the top here, we look at global brands and retailers. What we now see is they've all set themselves really ambitious short and long-term targets on sustainability, which is also why it now matters, because if you are in the supply chain, you're going to be asked more and more questions about, are you going to deliver against those global brands and retailers' sustainability targets? And if we work our way along the bottom, you've got lots of sustainability logos now. So sometimes this can be very confusing to consumers, and it's also confusing to things like brands and retailers, because there is now, according to ecolabelindex.com, there's over 450 global sustainability logos. So this creates confusion, but one thing it really does show is sustainability does matter now, and you have to look at the logos that are relevant to you. If we then look at sustainability pricing, you've then got what's called a trilemma. There are now difficulties balancing cost with functionality and the materials that you use and sustainability. And this is going to be a challenge for all of us moving forward. If we then look at new global sustainability impacts, there are trends that are happening, things that are emerging around the world that can change our view of sustainability. We only have to have a change of government or a new leader in a country, and that can change our focus on sustainability, which then has ripple effects around the world with different countries and different initiatives. And then finally here we look at Sustainability 2.0. And what we mean by this is we're now entering a new phase in sustainability where it's now going to get slightly harder to deliver. And why we know this is all the early adopters, all the countries and the companies within those who have been early adopters and leaders in sustainability, they've done a lot of hard work. Now we've got to work on the other 80% who might need a little bit more persuading when it comes to changing their initiatives and committing on sustainability. Okay, so now let's look at the key challenges you're going to face moving forward in sustainability in 2025. Now, I'm going to follow the same format here across the top and then along the bottom. One of the key challenges is going to be CO2 impacts of manufacturing. Now, whether you're in print, whether you're in packaging, whether you're in labeling, whether you're in retail, whether even within charities, you know, we all have an impact and our actions have impacts. And there is going to be a greater focus on the impacts that we have, especially if you're in a manufacturing sector. Then we've got to look at things like material pollution. Lots of people within manufacturing use diverse ranges of plastics and fibers and different packaging materials, and they're going to be under a lot more scrutiny than there's ever been before. We have sustainable supply chains that are really now challenging. So complex global supply chains when it comes to materials being shipped around the world can create big challenges if they're disrupted. If we look at distribution and logistics, the impacts here are now in stark focus. If you're shipping things around the world, you now have to look at them more than ever of how you're doing it and what's the impact of your distribution and shipping in your logistics. So let's look at the key challenges along the bottom here. We've got to start at sustainable design criteria. 80% of the impact on sustainability is determined at the early design stage. So you really need to get it right at this early stage. If you then look at new sustainable materials, this is where you've got to really start making educated decisions around the dilemmas with which material is best in form and functionality. You then got to consider challenges around waste and waste recycling. Where do these fibers and plastics and inks and chemicals, where are they going to go at the end of life? And then finally, a big challenge is scope 1, scope 2, scope 3 measurements and emissions. You are now having to measure and report on emissions like you never have before. Okay, so let's just take a look at the key takeaways from today. So there is now a real big focus on sustainability. So in 2025 is the year where sustainability becomes the new normal. It's now going to be part of everyday business life. You then have global legislations. We've got new global and in-country, wherever you are, legislations which will, for businesses, will have to adopt a more sustainable model and practices and report on them as well. And then finally, sustainable collaboration. You will not be able to do this on your own. Collaboration is the key to success when it comes to sustainability. Thank you very much.
So from the big blue sky thinking and some of the global issues there that Steve laid out for us, we're now going to take a closer look all the way down on the ground with some of the projects that we support and engage with across the globe. There'll be a few now, and then we'll look again at a few later on. Now, Action Change supports over 90 projects around the world. We're just going to give you a sample of a few of those in terms of the things that happen on the ground. Now, we are aware that there are a few issues with sound coming through. It's only background music, so if it does go quiet, we've put captions on all of these videos, so please don't worry, the videos will play as normal.
Hello, welcome to Siyakola. My name is Trina Zanazo. I am working at Siyakola. Siyakola that is based in the community of Masiphumelele. the incident that happened here in the community of a 3-year-old little girl who was found at the park playing alone. The child was killed brutally. That is whereby 3 of a woman who started coming up with the idea of opening up the daycare because they felt like if the child was on the proper place, that wouldn't happen. Then it was a small place, but friends came and it became a bigger space that was able to accommodate everyone. 3 years ago, we met with an organization that is Action Change. They have been helping us with scholarship children, as most of our parents, they are not working. They came and helped us to make sure that all the children that are around in the community, they come to the ECD. So they've been helping us so much in that. And also they've been providing the food for our children, the breakfast and the lunch as well. And together we've got, we are planning to having a good future together, helping each other. They've been supporting us very well.
What was stated by the daughter was that her vision was about to close anytime soon. He said, I'm not going to put her in any machines of mine. From looking at her, I can tell you what is going on with her eyes. And he was like shocked how bad they were damaged. And obviously, she was feeling the pains, but the pains too well. The way I'm so happy with, the results is very quick. Like, I don't believe them. Very, very quick. It took 3 days to see the difference. 3 days. And I was like, wow, this is amazing. The comment was after that. And when they asked me her questions, she does respond in the right way, which means that it was disturbing her academically. She couldn't clearly see on the board when she comes somewhere. From the treatment that we get on the that's her vision, she normal like every child. We didn't know how bad it was. So you guys, thank you.
Okay, hopefully that gives you a real flavour of what Action Change does on the ground. Of course, the logo, the strapline of Action Change is to tackle global issues locally, and they are fantastic examples of how we're doing just that. So for the next part of the webinar, we're going to go all the way around to the University of New South Wales in Australia, where we'll be joined by Eva Lloyd, who's talking to us about a project that she's run from the university there, engaging the community in education partnerships.
Hello, everyone, and thanks for having me here today. My name is Eva Lloyd. I am an architect, and I'm also an academic, an education-focused academic at the University of New South Wales in Sydney, Australia. I work closely with Lino on the Chendam Dyke project in Phnom Penh, Cambodia, where I lived and continue to work. My experience as an architect lies in community engaged practice, and now as an academic lies in community engaged teaching. And a big area of my focus is on shaping educational experiences that allow students to build an understanding of social justice. Many of the projects that I've worked on in Australia and in Cambodia have been supported philanthropically. And so today I am going to share 5 key learnings on how philanthropy can advance social justice through education partnerships. And I'm going to use the Chendam Dyke project to illustrate these points. The Chendam Dyke project is a collaborative project. It brings together residents, students, staff, and creatives from Australia and Cambodia to better understand how residents can be at the forefront of shaping their neighbourhoods and how we as collaborators can support them in this process. Chendam Dyke is a village in Phnom Penh. We often begin by talking about either funding or the project output. Instead, can we start with relationships and continuously return to these? Can we see philanthropy as part of a web of actors that do not operate in isolation, nor in rigid or linear ways? In the Chendam Dyke project, philanthropy, as you can see here, is connected to this really dynamic and evolving network that brings together, as I've said, community members, academic staff and students, creative industry and government groups. And investing in these relationships for us has meant learning and accepting that these networks are very complex and often messy, but that within this trust can be built. And with the trust comes an ability to better weather challenges. Also, what has come is a level of criticality, as knowledge and decision-making does not lie with a single individual or group. And philanthropy can be part of this critical network of thinking. We have really lent on this network, and the network has been building over the past 10 years. We lean on the network to build shared understanding, shared values, and shared goals. And we've learnt through making mistakes the importance of slowing down, of, for example, often needing to push back against institutional timeframes. And the benefit of this has been an increasingly deeper, common understanding of community needs, and one that we're still learning about, and ultimately a more robust way of working together. It is very easy to make assumptions about the problem or the needs and then to jump into problem-solving mode. And architects, and I can say this because I am one, particularly love problem-solving. We see with students also that in very short timeframes working with communities, solutions are often proposed that don't resonate with resident partners because they've not fully understood the context. So in this project, we've seen students, for example, propose recycling systems for the village, and residents respond by saying, oh no, we don't really need this. We've already got it, just not in a way that reveals itself explicitly or immediately. Investing in time to understand has also meant shifting our focus and that of our students away from deficits or what we need to fix towards strengths and working with residents to build upon their strengths. In Chendam-Dyke, for example, here, this has meant programs that tap into the residents' expertise and enjoyment of local Khmer food and cooking. Many of the residents are street vendors. And here, setting up a cooking competition as a way to share Khmer culture from Chendam-Dyke with the broader city public through a weekend-long festival. So if we look back here through relationships, time, shared understanding, and a strengths-based approach, we are slowly learning more about what community-centred and ideally community-driven outcomes can mean. In Chendam-Dyke, this has led us, or sort of closer relationships with residents, has shifted our focus away from built outputs, which is where we began and which is often very appealing to designers and to donors. So away from built outputs and towards programs here that support young people in the neighbourhood to build a love of learning outside school. And this has come through conversations with residents. So to build this love of learning or curiosity about learning through, again, playful food and cooking sessions that support young people in the neighbourhood academically, in terms of ethics and morality, and also in terms of culture. Importantly, these classes extend upon existing extracurricular classes that we learned were already being run by neighbourhood residents. When we look at built outcomes, this work, this kind of work here is less visible, but arguably it's more impactful and sustainable as it grows with, so from and with the community. Universities are increasingly considering their societal impact, and we see at the University of New South Wales in Sydney that there is a new societal impact framework that is helping us all to position this work, to think about what kind of protocols or principles lie at the heart of doing this work well, and how we can evaluate or measure impact. We also see that education programs run directly with community groups can be a really effective means for the next generation here of architects, but also engineers, scientists, economists, linguists, et cetera, to come together with other students. So to come together with community groups, but also with other students from the global south and the global north to build a social mindset. And that cuts across so many, or probably all disciplines, professions, sectors. This means that we're thinking critically as staff and with our students, not just about what we do, but about how we do it. And philanthropy here can play a role, not just in supporting the community projects or what, but ensuring that a range of students are able to access linked education programs so that we're really addressing equity and ensuring equity and diversity. And also that philanthropy can play an important role in checking that any community engaged learning programs are building from genuine long-term relationships and reciprocity through following some of the principles that we've discussed today. To close, I would like to thank the many collaborators who have been involved in the Chendam-Dyke project and linked work, which began in 2015. And thank you all for having me here today. I warmly welcome any of you to reach out if you'd like to connect or if you would like to discuss any of these ideas further. My email is at the bottom of the screen here, e.lloyd@unsw.edu.au, and my co-convener, and partner in the Chendam Lake project's email is also here. So wootlino@gmail.com. Thanks again.
So hopefully you got a really good understanding there of how Action Change is engaging both with communities, but also from an academic level. Now, for the next section of this webinar, as we lead up to the break, we're going to have a look at how Action Change is engaging with some of our business partners. Action Change relies on external involvement, whether it's as a volunteer, whether it's as a partner, a donor, and now we're going to just take a look at what that actually means for some of our business partners. I'm now joined by Jason Austin, CEO and founder here at Unifabs, to tell us a little bit about how they got involved with Action Change and what it means for business. So Jason, firstly, tell us a bit about Unifabs.
So Unifabs, well, I started the company in 2007. We initially set out to be a subcontract sheet metal work company, but since then we have developed and grown over the years. We now specialise more in design, taking the design concept through to prototyping, to manufacture, and then to final assembly. So, you know, we take raw material here at Unifabs and we convert it to fully finished product. So, yeah, we've got 170 staff. We've got 7 sites based here in Nuneaton. And yeah, that's pretty much it. We invest a lot in sort of latest machine technology. We also invest in our academy, which is very good, taking young people through their apprenticeship. And yeah, that's Unifabs in a nutshell.
And how did you get involved with Action Change?
So as a business, when it was commercially viable, we wanted to do something with a charity. And, you know, where do you start? There's so many charities out there, so many good causes. And then you also hear stories of, you know, money perhaps not getting to the right places with the right people. So it was really important for us to focus in on you know, finding the right charity that suited our sort of, you know, our values essentially. So yeah, we found Action Change. And then the next steps really, it was important for me to really, before we made any commitment, to see firsthand what work was being done, what projects were happening, where the money was going. And that was where I first went out to South Africa, Cape Town, maybe 2 years ago now. And, you know, after going there firsthand and seeing the good work and meeting the people, which is, you know, hugely important, it was an easy decision then to do something as a, you know, on a corporate level. So yeah, that was how we got involved with Action Change. Yeah, and we've never looked back since. And we've got our 3rd trip as a business coming up this year, so very much looking forward to it.
So although you've only been involved with Action Change for a couple of years, how have you engaged your staff?
So yeah, that is a little bit difficult. So following my first site visit, obviously I'm coming back and I've had this, you know, really it's a life-changing experience seeing the, you know, the work that's being done and what's needed to be done. So we took a lot of photos, a lot of videos, and meeting Tyrone for the first time. He then sent me some content following the sort of site visit as well. So sharing that with the staff, trying to get everyone else to buy into what I saw and where we wanted to go with it was the first thing we did. And then following that, last year we actually took out some of the directors to the site visit as well. So that was really great. We took Yarrick and Matthew from here, 2 of our directors, to see firsthand, you know, where the company's money's going, how it's being spent. And that was good for me. It was my second site visit, and I could actually see the progress from year 1 and then what's been done in that following 12 months, and, you know, where the money's gone, which is just incredible. So yeah, that was it.
So being involved with Action Change, what has been the effect on the business, the impact?
I would say the biggest impact has actually been when we complete a site visit and we get back and we then share the photos and videos and you know, our marketing manager will put something out on the platforms. The reach it gets is far beyond anything I would have ever imagined, to the point where, you know, I'll be going in to see a customer reference, you know, something to do with Unifabs, and the first thing they want to talk about is, you know, is the work that we do with Action Change. So yeah, that was a real pleasant surprise. It's yeah, I think that the actual reach on the social media platforms has been, yeah, it's been incredible. It really does seem to engage people, and yeah, that's been, yeah, it's been a nice surprise actually.
Because of course that's as with you guys, that's not the reason people necessarily get involved.
No.
But it's a nice happy accent afterwards. And of course, the other thing it does is raise awareness of Action Change itself.
It does, you know, and also it's good for our customers to know that we're giving a bit back. So, you know, I like to think that in a way that by supporting us, they know that, you know, we've got our sort of corporate responsibilities as well. So, no, it's been good.
So for this section of the webinar, I'm joined by those that have engaged charity and business together in a commercial environment. And I'm going to start with a brief conversation with Natalia De Palma, who is Commercial Director at Tyrone here in the UK. So Natalia, you have quite a bit of experience of driving initiatives into business and integrating with charitable projects. And what's your experience with that? How did you first get involved?
I think back on it, it's actually my first role as marketing manager back in the day for Drake & Morgan. And part of the responsibilities as what was being called the guardian of the customer was to make sure that we were also delivering that value of what I call positive impact through our full, I guess, end-to-end ecosystem. So that involved very much, and one of the great things about Drake & Morgan is it really cared about the community where the sites were located. So we used to do a lot with our place in Southwark there, along with the local community and support local initiatives. I think we also did something with How's Bears. I think that was the name of the charity at the time, where we do different campaigns linked to back if you ate, you know, a vegan dish, we'd make donations. So all the way back at when I first started my career, there was always this nod towards making that positive impact and being very much local in the community where you live or where you work. Oh, sorry. Yeah, I was just going to say, I think that's carried itself all the way through my career ever since that very first discipline of doing good should be part of your everyday and making it matter all the way through as well.
And why do you think, along your career in the business you worked in, why do you think that's something that you've pulled through and continue to do to this day?
Maybe it's because I know it's the right thing to do. And actually, when you speak to everyone, regardless, when you come to work, everybody wants to make a positive impact. And I call it democratizing doing good. We're in the world where there are so many causes and so many charities and so many initiatives that touch people in different ways and matter to different people due to different circumstances and where they are. And one thing that I've learned to adapt for, which is why I call it democratizing doing good, is that rather than imposing like a singular charity, which often is still what's done, and there's nothing wrong with that, but also giving avenues to when you work in a global business or startups or scale-ups, that if you work with, suddenly have an office in Poland, they will have causes that matter to them that might not be necessarily transferable to making it matter to those that work in the UK. So it's been about finding things that you can combine on and doing initiatives that work and make a difference. We had some pledges in where I previously worked, where actually it was just about doing something good for the day. And I empowered the local subsidiaries to pick what that was and what mattered to them. And it was vastly different, the things that came back, but it was by empowering them that you can do good. And it's about doing good, that's the mandate, rather than saying what the cause had to be, I found was an interesting part. And a lot of people, you know, will do things that they don't even communicate back into the business, whether it be charity runs or races, and you just start asking them, why do these causes matter? And some people all of these stories that are rich, and people get inspired by it as well.
So, final question, Natalia, thanks for sharing your time with us today, but I just wanted to explore a little bit your experience of measuring the effect and the impact on engaging corporate with charitable projects.
I think it comes down to visibility and transparency. I think there's so many good things that happen out there that we've always been doing, that businesses do, that people do, that we don't measure or view. So I think it's about bringing that visibility both internally, so people get inspired by great stories and great initiatives, all the way through to externally, so customers can see what it is and who they're buying from. It really helps gauge, you know, understanding who you're working with. So I think the part of it comes down to acquiring new business and understanding what a business is. And I do think that positive impact plays a part. The second part is talent acquisition. As it becomes harder and harder to find the right people for the right roles, we are seeing this as a differentiator when you look at some of the stats out there that people are reviewing. Okay, what does business X do differently from business Y? Why should I join them? What's their culture like? What do they do for the climate or the community? So this once again helps and being genuine on that portrayal. And then lastly, I think doing more good and seeing that makes you want to do more. And we know that you know, the hotelier thing where you've got a little card that says if you pick up your towels, it helps save the amount of water and just reuse it. By giving the messages, you want to be part of making change and be a part of that collective. And I see that communicating that helps do more great things.
Fantastic. Well, thanks for sharing your experiences with us for the purposes of the webinar, Natalia. It's been great to talk to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'm joined in this section of the webinar by Jade Seaward, who is CEO of one of Action Change's more recently onboarded partners, and that company is called Waste Secure. Jade, welcome to the session. Please tell us a little bit about Waste Secure.
Well, first of all, thanks for having me. Really appreciate it. Waste Secure was established in August 2023. I've been in the liquid waste game for about 15 years now, and I was lucky enough to partner up with a company called Waste Busters, who own 50% of Waste Secure, and therefore taking over their liquid waste management fleet. But the only reason I wanted to do that is because I wanted to drive that change. And our company slogan is transporting your liquid waste for the future. And I saw a gap in the market where we could not only be a liquid waste management transport company, but also treatment, well, part of the treatment, you know, of that process. So by effectively partnering up with two companies who I'm not going to mention right now, we have been able to do that, and that's given us some access to some big or large corporations, and really allowed us to place ourselves in the market.
Perfect. And in terms of your involvement with Action Change, tell us a bit about how you got involved with us, what that process looked like.
Okay, so I've known Ty Bennett for quite some time now. And I've always been inspired by, you know, what Action Change has been doing, driving a lot of change around the world, not only in South Africa. And we've had a couple of meetings and really saw the necessity for, you know, local communities to get access to, you know, drinkable water and potable water. And that's what really highlighted our, you know, our involvement. And with Waste Secure transporting, you know, wastewater, we thought we could also help drive that change and help provide to the local communities. And with Action Change's help, it's possible. So
really good fit.
Yeah, correct.
And you're at the start of your journey in terms of being a partner with Action Change. How do you plan on monitoring that and tracking that, if you like?
So we've had a couple of meetings with Tyrone and Action Change marketing team. We are in the process of synchronizing, you know, the partnership and the Action Change marketing team helping us onboard everything onto our website. So we will have project-specific pages where people can review. We'll have a donate button where people can come onto our website and actually, you know, donate to specific projects. And that's where we are with our journey at the moment. And with that, we'd really like to drive the change by, you know, putting it on the social media platforms and speaking to the large corporations that we currently service.
And is that an important part of your plans going forwards in terms of communicating to your customers and wider audience?
100%. I think that with the position we're in the position to drive change. And with the partners that I've partnered up with, they really have put us in a forefront position to do so. And connecting and partnering up with Action Change, that's going to drive that for us. And we're really going to be able to help give back to the local communities. And that's what we're trying to do. I mean, anyone involved in waste management wants to leave the planet in a better state. So that's what we really want to drive.
Well, James, it's been great hearing about your journey so far, and we look forward to working with you and developing a really successful partnership going forwards. Jade Seaward from Waste Secure, thank you very much.
Thanks a lot, Phil. Appreciate it. Cheers. Out.
So that brings us to the end of the first session here at our first ever CSR Connect webinar. We have delegates joining us from a whole bunch of different time zones, so I'm not going to do a time check, but what I would say is if you could please just check your watches now and join us again in 10 minutes. So welcome back to the second part of our CSR Connect webinar. And we'll have a slightly shorter part following now. And we're going to start off with a presentation from Shale here at Action Change, who's going to take us through her academic work at a very high level, which looks at how businesses can measure the impact of charitable engagement.
Hi, I'm Shale and I'm the Chief Operations Director for Action Change. I'm currently doing a PhD at Trinity College Dublin at the Business School, and my research is looking at how to maximize impact in partnerships across different sectors. This includes traditional businesses like yourselves. My research explores how these partnerships work and what makes them transformational, not just transactional. Why this matters now. The proportion of businesses concerned about communities and environment has decreased from 34% in 2024 to 28% in 2025, according to Britain's Offices of National Statistics. These statistics reveal a concerning pattern where trust in business remains fragile, public grievance is rising, and there's growing skepticism about how businesses are addressing critical environmental challenges. The data suggests businesses face mounting pressure to rebuild trust while simultaneously addressing urgent environmental and social issues. SMEs are increasingly under pressure to innovate, improve social value, and build trust in their markets. Cross-sector partnerships offer low-risk, high-return ways to enter new networks, explore community-driven models, and enhance brand legitimacy, especially in today's economy, where local credibility and adaptive relationships are becoming a competitive advantage. I've conducted surveys and interviews with dozens of social enterprises and not-for-profits in South Africa, many working under deep constraints. I've found that partnerships were essential for survival, innovation, and legitimacy. Key insights from my findings so far are that there are three standout benefits from partnerships: access to new markets, innovation, and enhanced reputation. Social enterprises and not-for-profits often start with transactional partnerships, but the real power lies in transformational ones. My research explores how social enterprises and not-for-profits build partnerships to overcome challenges like limited resources, power imbalances, and lack of formal support, and how these partnerships can create mutual value and long-term impact for both the not-for-profit and businesses like yourselves, offering global lessons on how cross-sector collaboration can drive inclusive growth and innovation in uncertain environments. Not-for-profits do not operate in a vacuum, especially in resource-constrained environments. They face three core challenges and often limit their impacts and scalability. And interestingly, SMEs operating in new or uncertain markets often face similar challenges. Challenge number one are resource gaps, explained by resource dependency theory. Not-for-profits often lack stable access to funding, skills, infrastructure, or market channels. Resource dependency theory reminds us that organizations form partnerships primarily to secure resources they need for survival, and growth. Challenge number 2 are legitimacy needs, explained by institutional theory. Social enterprises and grassroots not-for-profits frequently operate in informal or underserved systems where legitimacy isn't easily granted by larger institutions. Institutional theory explains how they partner with more established players, including SMEs like yourselves, to gain credibility and trust. These partnerships help these grassroots entities to signal reliability, especially to funders or policymakers. Challenge number 3 is uncertainty, explained by complexity theory. Both not-for-profits and SMEs like yourselves often operate in unpredictable, fast-changing environments, whether due to policy shifts, market shocks, or social unrest. Complexity theory shows that in such contexts, adaptability and co-creation are key. Partnerships become a way to test new models, learn quickly, and share risk. As this visual shows, these 3 challenges, resources, legitimacy, and uncertainty, overlap, and transformational partnerships are built right in that center zone. When not-for-profits and SMEs like yourselves work together intentionally, they don't just fill a gap, they create a new way of doing business that's adaptive, credible, and mutually beneficial. However, not all partnerships are created equal. They exist on a spectrum, and where you sit on the spectrum shapes what you gain, how you work, and the kind of impact you will create. To the left of the spectrum are transactional partnership models. These are exchange-based, short-term, and contract-driven. These partnerships are typically focused on delivering a product or service. There's clarity, but not much depth. Think procurement deals, one-off sponsorships, or compliance-driven partnerships. Towards the middle are collaborative partnership models. This is where joint planning and mutual problem solving begin to emerge. Here, you're not just exchanging value, you're starting to align goals and explore how to work together more creatively. This might involve shared reporting and co-hosting events or joint initiatives. And to the far right are transformational partnership models. These are built on shared purpose, co-creation, and long-term systemic impact. This is where the real power lies. You're not just helping each other, you're changing how you operate and what you can achieve together. It's based on trust, flexibility, and a shared mission. So take a moment to think about where you are on the spectrum and where you would like to be. This is an example of one of Action Change's project partners, which demonstrates the shift from transactional partnerships to transformational ones. It includes partnerships with Berg Farm, our Action Change project partner, local restaurants, and the municipality, and looks at how these partnerships transitioned from simply collecting waste as a transactional arrangement to feed pigs to a new policy on managing wet waste in the area based on circular economy. The result was decreased feeding costs for Berg Farm, decreased operational costs for local restaurants, and a new policy on sustainable wet waste management for the local community. So far, we've looked at how social enterprises and not-for-profits benefit from working with SMEs. But what's equally important is how you, as the SME, stand to gain. These partnerships are not charity, they're strategy. Here are 4 concrete ways SMEs grow through cross-sector collaboration. Number 1, community insight and brand credibility. Local not-for-profits are deeply embedded in the communities they serve. When you partner with them, you gain access to localized knowledge, lived experience, and trusted relationships that no market agency can replicate. That trust extends to your brand, giving you social legitimacy and a more authentic connection to your customers. Number 2 is access to underserved markets. Not-for-profits often operate in places mainstream businesses do not reach, such as rural areas, informal settlements, or marginalized groups. Through partnerships, SMEs can enter these markets with trusted ally, reducing risk and increasing social relevance. Benefit number 3 is talent attraction and retention. People, especially younger generations, want to work for companies that care. When SMEs align with purpose-driven not-for-profits, they become more attractive to values-based employees and partners. These collaborations can also upskill your team and boost morale. Benefit number 4 is innovation and resilience. Social enterprises and not-for-profits are used to working in uncertain environments with limited resources and lots of creativity. SMEs that partner with them often learn to think more adaptively, prototype quickly, and test new ideas affordably. It's a great way to strengthen your own business model. In short, cross-sector partnerships aren't a side activity. They're a competitive advantage. When done right, they make your business smarter, stronger, and more socially rooted. So how do you actually shift a partnership from being just a once-off transaction to something transformational, where there's deep alignment, innovation, and long-term value from both sides? Here's a simple checklist based on what my research uncovered, not from theory alone, but from how successful partnerships actually evolve in practice. Shared intent. Start with clarity around your shared why. Transactional deals focus on deliverables. Transformational ones focus on purpose. When both the SME and the not-for-profit care about the same core issues, whether it's local economic inclusion, sustainability, or youth development, trust and alignment will follow. Ask yourself, what impact do we both want to see, and how does it connect to our strategies? Number 2, co-creation. In a transactional model, one party sets terms and the other delivers. In transformational models, you design a partnership together. Co-creation means both sides shape the solution from the start, leading to better outcomes and more buy-in. Number 3 is mutual adaptation. No plan survives first contact with the real world. Transformational partnerships are flexible. They evolve as you learn, and both sides are willing to adjust. If one partner faces a constraint, the other adapts. This makes the partnership more resilient. Do you have structures in place to learn and pivot together, not just report outcomes? Number 4 is power awareness. Many partnerships fail because of unspoken power dynamics, especially when one side holds most of the funding, visibility, or institutional weight. A transformational partnership brings those dynamics into the open. It actively works to balance voice, risk, and value. Number 5, long-term horizon. Finally, transformational partnerships are built to last, not just to deliver one campaign or event. They're strategic alliances that evolve over time. That doesn't mean forever, but it does mean planning for growth, learning, and deepened engagement. Start small, but with a long-term mindset. See this as a relationship, not just a project. Let's wrap this up by bringing this closer to home, to your own business, your own decisions. You've seen how partnerships evolve, how they can unlock value beyond transactions, and how they benefit both sides when designed intentionally. So the question is, what would a values-aligned partnership look like for your business? Here are 3 simple steps to get you going. Start small but intentionally. You don't need to launch a full-scale co-branded initiative tomorrow, but even a pilot, a conversation, or a shared event can be a powerful starting point if it's grounded in shared intention. Number 2, identify aligned not-for-profits in your ecosystem. Look around. There are likely not-for-profits in your community already working on issues that overlap with your values and customers. Seek them out. Number 3, reframe partnerships as co-learning. Don't approach it as a handout or transaction. The strongest partnerships grow when both sides come in ready to listen, learn, and adapt. Co-learning is where the magic happens and where the real innovation emerges. In a world of uncertainty and complexity, the most resilient businesses will be those that partner, not just for profit. This research topic aligns very closely with Action Change's mission, which is to support communities in creating brighter, better, and more sustainable futures for all its citizens. Thank you so much for your time and attention, and please feel free to reach out should you have any questions.
Well, hopefully that's given you a fantastic insight, albeit just the tip there, the very tip of what's possible. Hopefully it's given you an insight into some of the positive impact that getting involved with charitable projects can bring into the business. And with that, we're going to move on now to marine conservation section of the webinar. And we're going to start with a presentation from Professor Francesca Porri at the SAIB, who will take you through the solutions that they've built around the African ecosystems and urban resilience.
Everybody, and thanks to Action Change for this opportunity for me to present here. I am Francesca Porri, a senior scientist at the South African Institute for Aquatic Biodiversity, and I specialize in the ecology of coastal systems. My research focuses on how marine organisms respond to the environmental conditions and how species are also connected across various ecosystems such as estuaries, mangrove, rocky shores, and urban shores shoreline. I am also passionate about how nature-based solution can bring back biodiversity and improve the health of our increasingly modified coastlines. And this is what I will be talking to you about today. More specifically, I'm going to reflect on the disciplinary elements of some recent research on nature-based co-creation as solutions for coastal environments. But first, let's take a step back. Why coastal ecosystem? Why are so interesting? Well, beyond the natural beauty, this ecosystem are ecologically critical. They're often described as a biodiversity hotspot, and this is true for South Africa, where our coastline supports about 15% of the world of the marine coastal species, including many endemic species that we don't find anywhere else. Coastal systems also provide food at the subsistence and recreational level, and they also can protect against storm surges and erosion because they attenuate wave forcing and they can trap sediment. As global economies continues to grow, though, so is the pressure on the coast, and this coastal human pressure is linked to the development of the coast with the increasing transformation of the shoreline. You can see it from the map. The dark blue means a lot of transformation of the coast, and this is just to give you an idea of what I'm talking about. These additional photographs are example of the various type of coastal infrastructure in development in South Africa. So as solutions towards this increased transformation of the coastline comes research on ecological engineering, particularly nature-based engineering solution. And this field of research specifically links ecological principle to engineering practices, aiming to increase the habitat complexity and promoting biodiversity and support of ecological functions. In the past 10 years, our research team has been involved in ecological engineering in South Africa, starting off with the World Harbour project, where it brought together experts from 19 locations worldwide with the aim of using green engineering to improve the ecological performance of artificial structures in ports. Following from here and having realized a big knowledge gap for South Africa, we recently came to the establishment of the Indigenous Marine Innovation and Sustainable Environments and Economies project. And this is a transdisciplinary project forged by a partnership between scientists, members of local communities, and the maritime industry. The MISI is divided in 6 main elements. The one in orange are the social component of the project, and the one in blue are the scientific. And I'm going to now take you through each of these components. So first of all, indigenous knowledge and specialized skills were required for the co-design and production of the structures that we wanted to test. So the first objective was to form a partnership with the local community in Hamburg, Eastern Cape, South Africa, for the protection of the intellectual property and of the co-creation and the preservation of the indigenous knowledge contained in this practice. The agreement was also including an informed consent translated in isiXhosa, which is the main language spoken by the knowledge bearers. The plant used to co-create the structures is the sedge, Cyperus textilis, known locally as Emisi, here the title of the project. And this plant is used locally mostly by women to weave traditional sleeping mats, sitting mats, baskets. And because of the potential prospect to exploit this plant, Vuyo, for her PhD, has taken a social ecological system approach to find a way of domesticating and sustainably harvesting these plants. Moving now onto the edge of the water, and just as the reference on your top right, you see the map of our 6 coastal sites, 2 large harbors, 2 small harbors, and 2 natural sites. And for her PhD, Nobuhle, is investigating if the structures that we are co-designing are potentially good habitats for early life stages of life, of coastal life. Here you can see the deployment on the top and the bottom of two different designs, but the bottom one is the one developed by the community. And the designs, though, shows the same sort of experimental setup with controls on the right, empty and flat mats, as well as complexified mats by the addition of live seeded mussels. For the fourth objective for his PhD, Siphelele is examining the possible physiological differences of early stage mussels from natural and urban size. He's also looked at the characterization of the complexity of urban and natural size by 3D scanning and extracting the metrics, and is also measuring the soundscapes, so the sound, comparing the sound at urban and natural size, and finally looking at, for the physiology, is looking at the metabolic consumption, respirometry of early stage of mussel. And finally, for the last objective, Jabulani is characterizing the chemistry of the water adjacent to this nature-based structure that we've deployed, including biomonitoring of metals that they can trap, also investigating the biological composition of the biofilm, the very early structure and life that develops on the structures. And finally, is also trying to find links, trophic links to what arrives on these structures and what do they eat. As this last slide, I want to show on the project wants to capture the foundational and final moments of our collaborative journey from the opening in Bizo, where researchers, local leaders, community came together to agree on the research agenda, on the code of conduct, to the concluding in Dibano, where the outcomes were shared and translated. Where are we and where do we want to go? This last slide is something that wants to show you where we are in terms of wanting to continue this South African ecological engineering journey. Now that we are building capacity, knowledge, and the expertise locally, we want to also reopen and repartner with our international colleagues and bring here to South Africa the living seawalls. This program aims at the development of affordable, adaptable, and importantly scalable methods of ecological and enhancing structure through the installation and monitoring of large panels. But for this, we need funds. And I'm leaving it there, thanking you, and I'm giving a big thank you to our partners and to you for your time and your attention. Thank you.
Well, that's a pretty detailed insight into one of our partner projects that has multiple locations around the world. So if you want any more on that, living seawalls is what to look for. So moving on now, we're going to look further into marine conservation with an education slant to look at how one partner organisation is engaging with communities and tourists in marine conservation. So we're now moving on to the marine conservation section, and I'm pleased now to be joined by Abby Hine, who's founder and managing director at Wise Oceans. Abby, hi.
Hello.
Hi there. So Abby, talk us through how it all started and what Wise Oceans is all about.
So Wise Oceans is a marine education and conservation organisation. It really started for me in terms of trying to get people really passionate about the oceans and then protecting them along the way. And for me, the best way to do that is to get people engaged, educated, and inspire them to really love the oceans, as I and my team do.
And just talk us through a bit about the projects that you run there.
So the company as a whole, we have three elements. We have one section that's all about getting people into marine conservation. So we have a careers section where we advertise jobs for organisations to get people working in the field. We also have our academy section where we have marine biologists who run virtual classes for mainly primary school children all around the world. And then we have our discovery section where we partner with luxury resorts around the world. And I have teams of marine biologists based at those resorts where we educate the guests, take them out on marine related experiences, and we run reef restoration projects and other conservation and scientific programs.
And how does an organisation involved in education and conservation, how do you work alongside those quite large businesses such as Four Seasons or other luxury brands?
Yeah, so I mean, it originally stems from me personally having connections and working with large brands like that. But yeah, we sort of form a connection, and it's really a two-way benefit. We're obviously doing it for the education and the conservation of the environment, but for the resorts, obviously, it really helps with their standing. It helps with their guest experiences, and it really adds that something to the guest experience. So it becomes, we talk about it as a partnership. Because we're working together on the projects.
And something we've seen that's really important to any business that engages in these kind of projects is the impact, the kind of measuring of those relationships. So how do you measure that? What impact do you have on the community and the countries that you're based in?
So all the countries we're based in, and if we're based at multiple properties within a country, we tend to link with the nearest local school, and we also join all sort of community events, whether it's sort of like a turtle festival or things like that. But we run, we go into the schools, we run sessions, whether it's just a one-off or whole sort of term-long programs for the children. Both at their school and at the locations that we're based at. And just sort of working with those sort of things. We've also, certainly in one of the countries we're based in, we've run marine scholarship programs for a number of years, where we actually have young adults, and we work with other NGOs in the country, other authorities and fishing authorities and things, and get these young adults to experience working in the blue economy, to then be able to get jobs. And they work with us as well, with the end result that they can get jobs with any of these organisations. And we've benefited from that as well.
Of course, of course. Well, I think one thing we've learned throughout all of the sessions is that the impact, being able to measure that is really, really important. So it's great to see that you're engaging all those stakeholders for what is a series of highly successful and impactful programs. So Abby, with that, thank you very much.
No problem, thank you.
So we're coming towards the end of the session now. Two elements left. I did mention towards the top of today's webinar that we would be looking at some of the projects on the ground in a bit of detail. So we're now going to showcase 4 more of the projects all around the world, from Sri Lanka through to South Africa and India. 4 short showcases, and then we'll finish with an interview here with Tyrone, our CEO, and the Q&A portal, of course, is open and will remain open afterwards. And just a reminder that there is background music to these videos. Doesn't appear to be playing out, but that's not really a problem. It is literally just background music. Okay, we're at the final part of today's webinar. Thank you for joining us. So this final section is an interview with myself and the charity CEO, Tyrone, looking at some of the key aspects of the charity and opportunities. So now we're coming to the end of the webinar. Thanks for staying with us, and hopefully you've enjoyed the session so far. We're going to finish up now with a short interview with Tyrone, the charity CEO, just to talk about his perspective of how the industry's changed, what some of the key obstacles are now, and where it might be going in the next few years. So Ty, in terms of your involvement in the charity sector, you've obviously been involved for almost 20 years. In that time, how much do you think the industry's changed, and what has changed?
I think probably when it comes to more awareness, that's quite a big thing. People that are a bit younger today are much more focused on impact and making a difference to the world, whereas before a lot of people would just donate. So they want to see where their money's going. They also like people that support charities as well. So we've seen a lot more eager people looking to find out what exactly we're doing and following our impact rather than just donating, which has actually been a good thing for us.
I suppose as well, quite a lot of the Gen Z will actively look at businesses that have that corporate social engagement already.
Yes, I think that's quite key for a lot of people, especially if they can afford it. They will definitely look at someone that supports impact and is more ethical rather than the financial side. So before, a lot of people used to buy stuff because it was the cheapest, but now that's probably secondary to actually impact and giving back to communities.
Sure. And in terms of business engagement with charitable projects, what do you think are the biggest obstacles or challenges that prevent businesses from getting engaged with charitable projects?
I think there's a lot of projects out there. There's a lot of charities, there's a lot of people doing different stuff, and there's a lot to choose from. It takes time, so you do need to invest in it. Spend a lot of time researching the charities, draw a short list to then meet your mission as a company. Are they on the same path as you? Making sure that they align with you, and it's not something you can just do overnight. So I think the biggest challenge is resources to actually go ahead and find that partnership.
So flipping that on its head, what's the easiest thing for a business to do to start their engagement journey with charitable projects?
I think it's like any task you got when you kick off. It's just making the first step, starting, looking at something. So reach out to a charity, have a meeting, listen to, follow them on social media, look at their websites, align them to what you're doing, and just take the first step to actually engage and chat with the charities.
I think it can be quite daunting for a lot of businesses, especially as you were saying earlier, that perhaps don't have that resource. Where do they go? And to make that first step, I think it's like anything, getting started. Don't think about step 10, just start.
Yeah, I mean, the first meeting can be 30 minutes, 45 minutes, just to get to know each other. And, it's like an interview. Once you have that first engagement chat, you'll know if that's for you or not. So it can be quite a quick and easy process, just to start.
So I guess following on from that, earlier on, we heard from Eva Lloyd at the University of New South Wales, who was talking about how impactful financial engagement can be. But other than that, what ways are there that you think businesses, in your experience, have successfully engaged with charitable projects?
So our mission of what we're trying to do is actually get corporates and businesses to partner with one of our projects. And it doesn't have to be all about financial, it's actually training and giving the community the skills. So mentorship programs. It's very easy for your marketing manager or someone in your marketing team or your social media team to give an hour a month where they have a WhatsApp call with one of the projects and help them set up a marketing strategy or a social media engagement strategy. That will help them, promote their projects and grow. Likewise with finance, they need to learn how to do a financial sheet, financial statements, operations. Every department can get involved to help a charity, and it can just be promoting a staff online mentor program for 1 or 2 hours a month, just as a starting point.
Fantastic. So, look, Ty, thanks for your time today, and thanks to the whole team here at Action Change for helping us put together the webinar. Just before I let you go, one final question, a bit of crystal ball gazing, looking ahead at next year. What do you think that brings for the projects that we engage with?
Well, with Action Change, things are always changing day to day. As we officially now turn 20, we're going to go back to Guatemala, which was where our first program started 20 years ago. And we're going to reflect on those ones that we worked with 20 years ago and hopefully set up a new programme to develop across Command even further.
Fantastic. Sounds exciting. I look forward to seeing that firsthand. Tyrone Bennett, thank you very much.
Thank you.
So now I've come to the end of the formal content of today's session, which is now your opportunity to get involved, ask us any questions. We're sitting here live with the senior team from Action Change. So if there's any questions about any of the content you've seen, things we do, please do put those questions to us. The screen will roll with some generic content, but please do use the portal and we'll answer those questions. So I'm joined here, now the formal part of the webinar is finished. I'm joined by Shale, who's our COO, as well as Tyrone, again, obviously the CEO here, to answer any questions. So please do use the portal. There is no more screen content rolling, so the screen will go dark. We'll still keep the webinar running. We'll turn the cameras off and we'll be here to answer any Q&A. We will, of course, follow up with you and take any inquiries. If you wanted to get in touch with us by email, then the best email address to use is hello@actionchange.org. That's hello@actionchange.org. And we'll leave the Q&A portal open now. But thank you for joining us today. I hope you found it particularly insightful in terms of the projects that we support around the world, but also how you can get involved. The key takeaway that we'd like to leave you with is to take a step. Drop us a note, get involved in any way that you can. So we hope to hear from you soon. Thank you for joining us.